DJ scream, heavy in the streets.
We gon' get it, we gon' get it, we gon' get it. We gon' get it, we gon' get it. Get it in blood. Get it in blood. We gon' get it, we gon' get it, we gon' get it. We gon' get it, we gon' get it. Get it in blood. Get it in blood.
Good rich.
Get it out the mud.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And it's been a while since I've had some appetizers for you, but I have some for you this evening. And what I have for you is UFC 280 reaction show. But first thing I want to do is get to some shout outs because I haven't had any of those for a while. And first one I want to get to is Brent Lewis. He's subscribed to the channel. And I really appreciate that, Brent. And then another one here is I'm not sure if this person subscribed or not, but they commented and attributed, and I really appreciate it when people put their input on in the comments and stuff. I like people's input and stuff like that, whether they are agreeing or disagreeing. I appreciate that. So Sean Gautreaux, he on the last podcast, he disagreed with me a little bit about my opinion with about Michael Thomas and the stray bullets and stuff that he's been catching about his injuries and stuff. But no, I appreciate that. I like people's input and stuff. I like the comments. I appreciate that. And I'm not sure if you subscribed or not, Sean, but if you did, I appreciate it. And if you haven't, I hope you do. And also, guys, I don't know if you guys will watch this video because it's the UFC, but if you don't, I'll probably shout you guys out again. Just so you'll see this on the Saints podcast. But also for people that haven't liked or subscribed or commented or shared, this is not something I normally do. I usually don't ask people to like or subscribe or share anything like that. That's not really why I do the podcast and stuff. But if you subscribe, and I'm able to identify you, I'll give you shout outs. I'll do it. So I appreciate that. It really helps, it helps grow the channel. It helps with the content and all that. So anyways, that's enough of that. So like I said, I'm Ethan, and let's get into this UFC 280 prediction show. So can I get a menu, and let's do this. I think by now, if you've watched any of these UFC prediction shows, this is the UFC 280 pay-per-view card. I usually only do the main cards, and this is the UFC 280 one, and this is from Abu Dhabi. And because it's in Abu Dhabi, the main card starts at like 2 p.m. over here Eastern time, 1 p.m. Central time. So that's like early. If you're gonna watch this on pay-per-view, you better not have nothing to be doing on Saturday during the daytime. It's not on prime time. But yeah, let's get into this first fight on the main card here. It's a catchweight fight between Caitlin Chookagian and Manon Fiorot. And Caitlin, she came in overweight, so that's why it's a catchweight of 127.5 pounds. And this was kind of a hard fight for me to pick because Caitlin, she's the number one flyweight uh, in the world or in the UFC, and that has to be a little disappointing that she actually came in overweight, and that has to be disappointing for both fighters that she came in overweight because I imagine because she's the number one flyweight and Manon Fiorot is the number six flyweight. This was probably a title eliminator fight, I would imagine, and that maybe messed this up a little bit. I think Caitlin, I think she had to give up like 40% of her fight purse to have this fight continue to happen, and yeah, that's interesting how that maybe affects this as a title eliminator fight because she missed weight. But yeah, this is a kind of a tough fight for me to pick uh, because both of these fighters have a very good record. But uh, Caitlin is she's 4-0 in her last. She's 4-0 in her last four fights, obviously, and then Manon Fiorot has a really impressive record. She's not 9-0 in her is on a 9-fight winning streak, and has only lost one fight in her career, and that was her first fight of her career. And I say this a lot when talking about women's fights, how they don't get a lot of knockouts in their careers, but out of the 9 fights, she has 6 knockouts and only 3 by decision, and that's very different than Caitlin Chukangan. How when you look at her fight, her record, that she only has 2 knockouts and 15 fights by decision. So that makes this kind of a hard fight to pick, honestly, for me. Even though that she's like the number one flyweight in this division, but then when you look at her losses, she has been knocked out four times or 2 times out of her 4 losses, and then just 2 losses by decision. And if you go back to her last loss was she's on a 4-fight winning streak. So then her 5th fight ago, which was October 18th, 2020, which was against Jessica Andrade. If you know anything about her, she's just an absolute beast. She was a champion at one time. So she's no scrub at all. She has amazing knockout power, and then the fight prior to that, she beat Shevchenko's sister by decision, and then prior to that fight, she got knocked out by Valentina Shevchenko. So she's a champion, and we all know how dominant she is. She got knocked out by elbows and punches, and then to Jessica Andrade, she got was TKO'd by a body punches. So she's been knocked out before. It's been a while. It was in 2020 where she got knocked out a couple times, but I think because of Manon Fiorot knockout potential, even though Caitlin Chukangan being the number one flyweight, even though this is a catchweight, match because she came in overweight. I think I'm gonna go with Manon Fiorot because she's on a 9 fight win streak, only lost 1 fight in her career, but because she has that knockout potential, I think I'm gonna go with her. I think she's gonna win this fight, maybe in the second round by knockout. So that's what I'm going with with the first fight. And then in the second fight, we have a lightweight match between Benel Dariush and Matas Gamrot. Uh, and this fight's kind of similar to to the first match. Both of these guys have like very impressive records, kind of on win streak. Benel Dariush, he's on a 7 fight win streak. Beat some very impressive fighters. In his last couple fights, he's beaten guys like Tony Ferguson, Carlos Diego Ferreira, Scott Holtzman, Dracker Close, Frank Camacho. So some very impressive guys. And by KO, submission, decision by all different kinds of ways too, and that's just an impressive 7 fight win streak that he's on right now. And then Matas Gamrot is on a similar streak, not quite as many wins, but he's on a 4 fight win streak as well. Just this card in general is just stacked, and he's on a 4 fight win streak as well. And he has 21 wins in his career, and out of those 21 wins, 7 are by knockout and 5 are by submission. So he gets finishes, and same with Benel Dariush. He gets finishes as well. With his finishes, he has the same amount of wins, 21 wins, and 5 are by knockout and 8 are by submission. So both of them get finishes. So if this fight gets finished, I say Gamrot probably gets a knockout, and Dariush probably gets a submission. And both of these guys have like good ground games. Both of them are like wrestlers, have jiu-jitsu background, so maybe that will lead to this ending up being a stand-up fight because of that. But I think just because Benel Dariush is more of a veteran and is on a 7 fight win streak, I think I'm going to go with Benel Dariush in this matchup. So on to the 3 main fights that probably everyone is here for, because and what makes this such a stacked card. And the first one that I'm talking about is the bantamweight match between Peter Yan and Sean O'Malley. And this fight was funny between them at the ceremonial weigh-ins. This was really the only one where they had to be held back, where they were acting like they were gonna do something at the ceremonial weigh-in. So that's always funny when you see guys acting like that. But you know, I feel kind of the same way about Sean O'Malley that I felt about Conor McGregor. I wasn't really bought into Conor McGregor until he basically won both titles. You know, it took me a while for me to buy into him, probably until he, you know, beat Nate Diaz in the rematch, all that, you know, won both belts. It took a while for me to buy into the hype of Conor McGregor, and it's basically the same story. I haven't bought into Sean O'Malley. He hasn't impressed me yet. I don't feel as if he's fought any real real talent, real high level fighters yet. I feel like he's just been fed uh, jags and cans. But if he beats Peter Yan, uh, then I'll be impressed probably. If he knocks out Peter Yan, I'll be really impressed. But until then, I'm just not sold on him yet. And it's not because of the hair. It's not because of the antics or the dancing or anything like that. It's just I'm not sold on him yet. But uh, but this is a real matchup for him. This is a serious challenge for him. I mean, you could argue that Peter Yan could still be the champion over Aljamain Sterling, honestly, because that was a close fight between them. So this is about as tough a matchup that you could think of. Honestly, this is probably a bantamweight title eliminator between them. So whoever wins this probably ends up facing Aljamain Sterling or TJ Dillashaw, whoever wins that match. So this is definitely a very, very tough matchup for him. But honestly, I see Peter Yan probably winning this by just dominating on the ground and probably winning by decision, or he wins by some kind of knockout, probably just punches, TKO punches on the ground, or just lay and pray decision on the ground. So with that, I'm probably going to go with Peter Yan, and more than likely, it's probably just going to be just complete domination on the ground. And I hope he doesn't uh, get too cocky or confident and try to stand with Sean O'Malley, because even with what I've said about Sean O'Malley, he has had some impressive knockouts and devastating knockouts. But I'm going with Peter Yan in this one. And then on to the co-main event, we have Aljamain Sterling, the champion, the bantamweight champion, versus TJ Dillashaw. And man, the nicknames and the social media that has donned TJ Dillashaw as TJ Pillashaw, man, that just cracks me up. I think that's so funny. And then TJ Pillashaw saying that uh, a cheater's gonna kick, you're gonna get your ass kicked by a cheater to Aljamain Sterling. I just thought that was so hilarious too. That probably sounded better than your head than it sounded coming out by TJ Dillashaw when he said that to Aljamain Sterling. That stuff, the guy that took IPO PEDs, man, that stuff is just so funny to me. Uh, Man, this fight, I'm really excited to see this fight. Just any fight with TJ Dillashaw, it's just he's just a character, and there's just something about him. I think it's because of the cheating and the rivalry that he had with Cody Garbrandt. There's just something that he's like more of an old school. There's an old school UFC feel about him from like a lot of those UFC fighters are like gone. He's from that class of like Jose Aldo and whatnot. A lot of those guys are retired and gone, but he's still one of them. Like he's from that era of John Jones and stuff. Most of those guys are like gone now, so they draw attention still, but in saying that, I think that's probably one of the reasons why he's not going to win this fight, because he's 36 years old. He's hasn't fought since let's see, hasn't fought since July 24. Yeah, since July 24th, 2021, and that was against Corey Sandhagen, which I don't really know how impressive that really was, and it was a split decision, and he tore his knee up in that fight, so he's coming back from a devastating knee injury, like almost like more than a year ago, and he's coming back fighting Aljamain Sterling, who's in the prime of his fighting career, and Aljamain Sterling is 33 years old. I guess that's not a lot younger, but he's not someone that's known for taking drugs, and he is younger, and I guess he had the neck injury, but lower body injuries are a lot more serious when it comes to combat sports, professional sports, when it comes to shooting and moving around and things like that. So I just don't see TJ Dillashaw winning that just off of um, fighting in general. Guys like that. I've mentioned guys like Tony Ferguson and Jose Aldo and guys like that just being not TJ Dillashaw necessarily, but being stepping stones. But I think TJ Dillashaw just hasn't become that because he's been gone for a year. But I think Aljamain Sterling is going to show the world that TJ Dillashaw is not the same TJ Dillashaw that people knew before he stopped taking the IPOs and after he got injured. But if this fight goes any way, it's going to go 5-round decision, or Aljamain Sterling's probably going to finish it in rear naked choke because that's how he controlled basically half the fight against Peter Yan. So I'm going with Aljamain Sterling to retain the bantamweight title fight, the bantamweight championship in this fight. And then on to the main event, and we have I guess that's to decide who gets the lightweight championship, the vacant lightweight championship. We have Charles Oliveira against Islam Makhachev, and both of these guys have incredible ground games. Charles Oliveira has an amazing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background, and then Islam Makhachev has like a amazing sambo wrestling background that he I guess learned and is trained by Khabib Nurmagomedov. So they both are amazing on the ground. But I think what makes Charles Oliveira more dangerous is just that he's more rounded. I think he has a better stand-up game. And that's kind of what has me probably leaning more to Charles Oliveira because he has that better ground game or just better overall rounded game, and he's on a ridiculous winning streak as well. Like on an 11 fight win streak. He's on an 11 fight win streak. He has, I just had it pulled up here. That's ridiculous as well. I think he has the most submissions in the UFC. 21. Well, that's not just the UFC, but in his career, he has 21 submissions, which is just insane. And then Islam Makhachev is on a 10 fight winning streak, but it's really just not comparable at all when you compare them. But I think Islam Makhachev or Charles Oliveira just is it just has the championship pedigree and is just a veteran and is just more well-rounded when it comes to stand up and just pretty much everything, honestly. And they're not that different in age. Makhachev is 31. Charles Oliveira is 33. So the age difference is not that large. Islam Makhachev is had uh, 22 fights, only one loss in his career, and it was by knockout. He's had 4 knockouts in his career, only 10 losses, or only 10 submissions, and then 4 wins by submission. And let's just go back over all Charles Oliveira's records here, just for fun here. But I think you've already figured out who I'm going with here. But Charles Oliveira has 33 wins and 8 losses, 4 losses by knockout, 3 by submission, 1 by decision, 9 knockouts with 21 submissions and 3 by decision. And he just been getting people in those rear naked chokes here recently. But like I said, I think Charles Oliveira is gonna get his lightweight title back, and I can't really even pick how he's gonna do that, just because there's such a varied ways that he could win this. But I think Islam Makhachev's just too one-dimensional in his sambo wrestling background, that he just, there's just too many ways Charles Oliveira can beat him. That he could beat him on the ground, he can beat him standing up. Charles Oliveira is just so dangerous in every aspect of the game. But with that, I think we'll go over who I've got here. In the first fight on the card, I have, which is the catch weight fight at 127.5. I have Manon Fiorot to win. In the second fight, which is the lightweight fight between Benel Dariush and Matas Gamrot, I have Benel Dariush. In the third fight, bantamweight between Peter Yan and Shane O'Malley, I have Peter Yan to win. In the co-main event, I have Aljamain Sterling and TJ Dillashaw. I have Aljamain Sterling to retain his belt. And then in the co-main event, between Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev, I have Charles Oliveira to get his lightweight title back. And with that, I think that's all I have for you. And so, can I get a check, please?